Trent and Jason here from the Thunder Underground podcast, and we're going to talk about Metallica's brand new live album.
That's right. It's called Helping Hands, live and acoustic at the Masonic. There it is, right there.
Right there. That's a double vinyl.
Yes, double vinyl, colored vinyl, blue. It benefits their All Within My Hands Foundation. They recorded it live in San Francisco on November 3rd, 2018. And we're going to kind of run it down for you guys.
Yep. This was just released February 1st. You can get it pretty much digitally wherever. I think the only physical copy is the vinyl, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a CD version.
Yeah. I mean, me being a complete, tragically dorky ass fucking Metallica fanboy, I pre-ordered it. I've got it. So there you go.
Yeah. But hey, it's great.
Yeah.
It's
awesome.
is always fun. And hearing not only your favorite band, but the biggest metal band in the world perform acoustic is always something that is interesting, to say the least. You know, you always think, well, what are they going to do? How's it going to sound when they do Disposable Heroes acoustic? That kind of thing.
It is, and it's you know, it's something that I've really got to speak on as far as, one, you know, yes, Metallica is my favorite band in the world, but also, two, I've never been super huge on live albums, and three, I never really cared for when Metallica did acoustic stuff. You know, when they started out doing it, I think, you know, in about 20 years ago, they did the first Bridge School benefit, and they did some acoustic versions that I didn't like. And they did, and that kind of turned into doing an acoustic section on a tour. And I just, you know, I don't know. I didn't think those songs translated well acoustically. And you can kind of see how that might be, right?
Right.
Some of their originals.
Yeah.
You know, their early, you know, anyways.
Well, I can say that about a couple things on here.
Oh, yeah, totally. And you know, but over the years they've done more. They've done a few Bridge School benefits. They've done a few more acoustic things, and it's gotten a little better to the point where, you know, this release is pretty decent. You know, they've reimagined some of the songs. You know, and then there's a couple songs that are still I just wouldn't touch acoustically. But, you know, I'm not in the band. Fuck me. They are, so they can do whatever they want.
Right.
But that's kind of, you know, I'm usually just kind of like on board with whatever they do. But the acoustic section of Metallica has always been kind of a thing where I don't know. So I think this is a good thing for us to go over, you know.
Yeah, 12 songs here, and you mentioned the reimagining thing, and I've always been a huge fan of bands doing songs acoustic through my whole life. And I know whenever I was younger, you know, you're a teenager, you're like, man, I wish fucking Pantera, Anthrax would do acoustic, just because it's like, so it does sound so unrealistic.
Well, they've done some Safe Home. That was great.
Well, yeah, but that was later on. I'm talking about
true.
like, you know, around like the early 90s. I'm thinking, what if these bands did this acoustic? You know, even though that seemed far-fetched now, like you said, over the last 20 years, it's more accepting for, you know, Anthrax or Testament to sit down and do some acoustic.
Yeah.
Especially Metallica.
And, you know, when they do stuff like, you know, like Tuesday's Gone and Turn the Page acoustic, that's great. That's fine. Or even Nothing Else Matters. But it's just when they get into, like, hardwired acoustic, you know. I mean, or Four Horsemen. It was always kind of tough for me.
Well,
but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Yeah, kick this off. I'm sorry.
Well, the first thing, you know, when it opens, James makes a comment about, I'm not nervous, meaning that he is nervous.
Yeah.
You know, so I thought that's kind of cool that, like, someone at that level, you know, they're one of the biggest bands in the world, playing massive places, and it's because they're outside of their comfort zone.
Of course.
That he's sitting there on a stool playing a guitar.
Yeah.
He's, like, probably nervous. Way more than he would be playing in front of 80,000 people.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
definitely.
than he is in this theater, you know. So I think that's kind of cool that he at least acknowledged that.
Yeah, and, you know, that's part of the art of it, and that's part of, you know, in keeping with what Metallica has always done, challenge themselves and do what they want. And, if it's something they're not really familiar with, they go even further into it.
Yeah.
So, I totally expect this from them.
Yeah. Well, you've got 8 people on stage.
Yeah.
Right. You've got the 4 of them, and then they've got a guy playing steel guitar. They've got a guy playing keyboards, a guy doing percussion, and then a guy that was doing, I think, both extra guitar and some extra keyboards as well.
Yeah, some mandolin or something.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
And I think that is what has helped them on this time around and made it a little better.
Like it's more of a full sound.
A little fuller.
Yeah,
a little weightier, not as tinny, because that's what I always kind of hear with them when they do this acoustic stuff. So, the supplemental players really rounded everything out.
Right. Well, Disposable Heroes is the first track. And I kind of hear what, you talked about. At first, it doesn't, really translate that well to me. Mm-hmm. The first half of the song, but the second half of the song really did for some reason. Like I don't know what happened. Just, it got that part where they broke it down a little bit and then came back up, and it just sounded right to me at that point.
Yeah.
So I dug that.
See, I've always dug this arrangement of this song.
Yeah.
And I really thought it was cool how, let's just make up a new song, but put the words of Disposable Heroes to it. Because that's what it seemed like to me in a way.
Yeah, I guess.
And like we've said probably 4 or 5 times already, reimagining.
Yeah.
So I appreciated this version. And, I think they did it... the last Bridge School Benefit, or maybe the one before, around the Death Magnetic era. I can't remember right offhand. And it was cool. But this, again, with the supplemental players, they got it on this one. I really think so.
Yeah, so it's cool to kick off with a classic.
Of course.
Song from the classic era. More of a deep cut. Everybody that loves Metallica knows it, but it's not a hit, so to speak, or whatever you want to call it. Well, then they go into the second song as a cover of Deep Purple's When a Blind Man Cries.
Yes.
They actually recorded this for the Deep Purple tribute many years ago.
Yeah.
Did a great version there. They do a great version here.
Yeah, there's nothing really you can knock. They did the original total justice. Yeah. It's a great version.
Yeah, I really love the way Hetfield's voice sounds on this. Just something about, obviously he's singing a cover, so it's not what your mind's used to from him, I guess.
Yeah.
As far as just an obvious Metallica song. But this, obviously he's not Ian Gillan, because most people aren't. But he doesn't need to be. And
last time I checked,
he has that real, that real power to his voice that really fits this song really well. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So it was the third song is The Unforgiven.
Yeah.
And I didn't even write a note about this because I'm like, it's The Unforgiven. You expect it to be on an acoustic.
Yeah, again, it's one of those, it's one of the ones they can pull off, and they did.
Right.
And it sounds like you think it would. And so, yeah, and it's a no-brainer. Oh, if Metallica does an acoustic set, yeah, they should definitely do Unforgiven.
Yeah.
So, there's nothing to knock here.
Would you have rather done Unforgiven 3 right here?
No.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. That's a great fucking song. So
in some deep cuts here.
Yeah, I guess they could. A cool piano intro. Maybe they could.
Metal Up Your Podcast does a cover of Unforgiven 3.
Yes, they do, and it's fucking great. Yeah. That's another thing. Metal Up Your Podcast. If you're not on that ride, I don't know what is wrong with you. If you're watching this video, but you haven't checked out Metal Up Your Podcast, I don't know. Go do it.
Right. Well, what do we got next? I'm sorry, I'm looking down at
we got the thing, Please Don't Judas Me.
Yeah, by Nazareth.
Yeah, it's a Nazareth cover.
That's a great song.
Yeah.
They do a really cool version of it. It's one of those, I don't know, I'm not steeped in Nazareth. I've heard the song before, but it's not one of the obvious, massive hits. So I always appreciate that with Metallica, that majority of the time when they're doing covers, they're not massive hits outside of the next song we're about to talk about, or a few others, like Tuesday's Gone or Whiskey in a Jar. But most of their songs like this, they tend to go with a deep cut, which I love.
Yeah, definitely.
And I mean, that's a really cool one to include.
Oh, yeah, it was a great cover. I enjoyed it.
Turn the Page, to me, was kind of like Unforgiven. It just, you expected in your mind how it was going to translate, and that's exactly
what you got, yeah. They know what they can do, and they put that in there, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is not one of the curveballs. So,
right.
Again, Turn the Page, great.
Yeah, they didn't do Merciful Fate medley.
Yeah, no
Acoustic,
kidding, no kidding. That would have been a problem.
That would have been a curveball.
Yes, totally. That would have been a goddamn knuckleball, okay?
That would have been the ball that got hit and then hit the bird. By the,
no shit, by Randy Jones.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's exactly what the fuck that would have been, yeah.
So next up, we've got Bleeding Me.
Which is one of my favorite Metallica songs of all time.
Of any?
Of all time.
Well, yeah, I wanted to say that this is a song that, obviously, diehard Metallica fans, you never hear anyone talk shit about this, but enough people that aren't your average fans need to know this fucking song.
Definitely.
Because you say it's one of your favorite. I mean, I wouldn't put it in like my top 10 or anything, but I do believe it's the greatest Metallica song that came out post Black Album, pre-Hardwired.
I get that. I get that totally.
It's better than everything on Death Magnetic. It's better than everything, obviously, on Saint Anger or the two, both the albums that it was on, Load and Reload. You know,
I agree with you. It's
the greatest song of that era.
Yeah, when you talk about Load and Reload, that is probably number one.
Yeah,
and I appreciated that they did that song justice, and they knew to pull back and maybe not put in the second part that gets heavier, and just kind of focus on the first part of the song, and just have this version be that, the more ambient, more mellow, more emotional, and I appreciate that forethought of let's not even try to go there. So again, they knocked it out of the park with this one, and like I said, it's just another reason why this album is kind of bringing me more around to the idea of them doing more acoustic stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they started, I was kind of anticipating how they were going to pull that second half off, and they didn't.
And they just didn't.
And I was
get
okay,
that. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, next up, we got a cover of Veteran of the Psychic Wars by Blue Oyster Cult.
Blue Oyster, B-O-C.
And this is a song that Lars likes, according to James.
That's what he said.
Another one that, if you're going to cover Blue Oyster Cult, there's a bunch of ways you could have went that were more obvious, and I appreciate the fact that they went deeper here.
Yeah. I mean, they could have done, The Reaper, or, Burning for You, or Godzilla.
Right.
Which I would not want to hear Metallica do any of those.
No. Iced Earth, by the way, does a great cover of Burning for You.
Yes, they do. Way better than Metallica could do, so.
But this is a cool song, and I appreciate it, because I'm not... Blue Oyster Cult's another band that I never dug too deep in.
Nah, me neither.
And I know we've got some friends that have.
Yeah.
But, hearing them do this makes me want to go check that out,
Yeah, definitely.
So we got it next is a song called Nothing Else Matters, which is the ultimate Metallica acoustic song.
Yeah. What did you just say, next?
No.
Well, I mean, we know what we're getting.
Right.
They did it great. It's all good. Nothing else matters.
There's not much to talk about here.
Yeah.
You know ahead of time exactly how it's going to sound, and it did.
Totally.
It was good. They play this song every show they do. It's not like they had to rehearse this thing.
Yeah.
So next up, we've got All Within My Hands, the title track, so to speak, of their foundation.
Yes.
The only song here represented from the disaster piece, Saint Anger. And neat, I must say that this is better than the original.
It definitely is, and that's kind of something I wanted to stop and talk about for a minute. I understand this is what they named their charity after. They've had an acoustic version of this for years. Like I said, they played the Bridge School benefit 10 years ago. They did this. This is, and I'm pretty sure that if they ever do any more acoustic performances ever, this song will probably always be there. And
especially because, like you said, the name
exactly, of the yeah. And the thing is they did such a great version of this, like a reimagining. No one ever wants to hear the original. Okay,
right?
It's just Saint Anger, just swirl of God knows what the fuck. And
if you even made it that far, because it's the final track.
I mean, it's so hard to listen to, and somehow they turned this song into something. It makes sense. It flows. It sounds great. It just somehow it lends itself so beautifully to an acoustic setting, and it just kind of makes me go, okay, I can deal with this. So yeah, I mean, this is one of those ones where they got it right and they figured it out, and it's a joy to listen to.
It's a prime example that all those songs from Saint Anger would have been way better if they were done the way they should have been done.
Exactly.
And, if you're not familiar with the fact that there's a group of guys from England that a few years ago did their cover of the full Saint Anger album, but they did it the way they thought it should be done, which is cutting out a lot of stuff, condensing it, and just making it more straightforward. And
it was production.
Yeah. So that, hearing this acoustic kind of gives you that idea that, like, this is a good song, but I just don't want to hear the original version of it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's you can find it on YouTube, Saint Anger 2015.
Yeah.
Or just, in all the socials, hashtag Saint Anger 2015, you can find it. Definitely worth your time to go check it out. Because you'll actually end up liking Saint Anger after you hear that.
Well, next up is Metallica's most popular and well-known song, Enter Sandman.
Of course. I figured it'd be Prince Charming.
Okay, sorry, second most popular.
Oh, okay. Song. Gotcha.
Well, like you mentioned, first off with Disposable Heroes, I was hoping that there would be more stuff like Heavy that was reimagined. Mm-hmm. And Enter Sandman, I didn't expect this to be reimagined when it started. I thought it was just going to start with that guitar and just go into it. Mm-hmm. But it didn't sound like the original until like the last minute or so of it. Yeah. And I really, really dug that.
Yes, I agree. This was, like I told you when you got here, before we did this was on the Bridge School benefit from 2016. And I was so surprised by this. And they kind of they took it back. They did a groove. It's something kind of different. And for a song that we've all heard so many times and are so tired of, they really brought this song back to life. And I appreciated the way they did this.
Yeah, very similar to when Zakk Wylde and Black Label Society did the Unblackened tour.
Yeah.
And they reimagined. I'm born, I love Black Label, but I'm just bored out of my mind with Stillborn. And when he reimagined that, I'm like, this is interesting again. Kind of like Enter Sandman is here. Mm. So once again, much appreciated. They follow that up with the Four Horsemen.
Next.
And we totally differ on this. I know that you didn't really care for this.
Yeah.
Because they just did a straight acoustic version of the way the original sounded. And for some reason, to me, it came across really cool.
I've never liked their version of this.
Yeah. And I know they've done it before. Yeah, I've heard it before.
They've done it for 20 years, yeah. I
don't know.
I can't get into it. But, I mean, that doesn't mean nothing, but...
Right.
It's just
that's
for
why
me.
we do this, because, we don't have to agree on everything.
Yeah, exactly. Right? I wish they'd, do something else.
Yeah, I mean, they could pick another song from Kill 'Em All, but I mean, it would be easy to reimagine these songs into more of an acoustic feel, but I think, maybe, like I said earlier, maybe it's the inner child in me that just like, yeah, that's what I fucking wanted.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
Who knows?
But on the exact flip side of that, Hardwired was next, and it's the same way, and it's not good at all.
No, it's not. And
I'm not saying it's not good, it just doesn't translate.
No, and
I love the original.
And I hate to keep going back to the 2016 Bridge School, but
well, now that's the reference point, right?
But that's the one where, and you can order the fucking CD on their website. They don't cut it out. Where, I mean, that version that they did is fucking terrible, and they even know it because they stopped and started it again. And even when they were done, James Hetfield was like, "Well, we'll never do that again, ever." Okay, seriously.
They thought it's been a couple years. They could
because it was just so. Listen to Hardwired. You can't. What are you gonna, unless you do like a total Disposable Heroes thing and just put the lyrics to just some other fucking jam. There's no way you can do this song acoustic. It's so thrashy, but I figure kind of like you said, oh, we fucked it up. We're going to do it right this time. So they did it again, and they probably shouldn't have. Granted, it was better than the last time. Okay, I'll give them that. But, the whole we're so fucked, shit out of luck, that just doesn't, to me, it doesn't translate acoustically. Because that's like an aggressive, that's a pretty hostile vibe that you're getting across. So you need some thrashy, loud shit behind it. So, I don't know. They should have, I couldn't get behind that one.
I mean, there's songs from the new album like Halo on Fire, which would translate well, I think.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But I understand why this is here, because it's the lead song, it's the title track from the album.
And like I said, I really think they're like, you know what? No, we're gonna do it
over here.
We're gonna fucking do it this time. Right.
But I do appreciate that at least that was the last song and not Enter Sandman, because that's the deal these days.
Yeah.
Because personally, I wish that you could go to Metallica song and they would open with Enter Sandman like they did back in the 90s.
Well, and they'd been doing that a few years ago.
Oh, were they?
Well, probably a little bit longer than that. Kind of on their festival things, in between, which they should still do. Yeah. Just to get the morons out of the way.
Right.
Here's Enter Sandman. Fuck off.
Right. Well, like you said, this is probably you think this is their best full acoustic performance you've
Oh, it definitely is. They get better every time they do this. I'll give them that much for sure.
Yeah. So, I had a question for you. If, off the top of your head, can you think of any songs you would want to hear? Like you would like to hear acoustic version of that they haven't done or you haven't heard in the past?
Oh, I think they could do maybe, just off the top of my head, My Friend in Misery might be cool.
Oh, yeah, that would be.
Or, they could definitely do a Mama Said or Low Man's Lyric, which they have done, but it's another one of my favorites. I'd kind of like to see what they could do with maybe To Live Is to Die.
Yeah.
So there you go. I think that's off the top of my head. I think that's what I'd like to see. Yeah.
I think Wherever I Might Roam would be really cool reimagined.
Yeah,
like
I get that. That's
like they do with Enter Sandman. They slowed it down, made it more drony or something. It just it has the lyrical content and the vibe that could be a slow song.
What could be really cool is if they took out the back part of it and just kind of did something with one.
Oh yeah,
that might work. I don't know. That might be cool.
Or do a medley of the beginnings of one, Sanitarium, and Fade to Black.
Yeah, there you go. I like that too.
Right.
Yeah.
I also think Wasting My Hate. I just got to throw that in when I can.
Yeah. Well, and yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Guitar,
and then kind of like what you said earlier is Unforgiven 3.
Yeah.
I kind of said no at first because I was just kind of, riffing off the cuff. But when you stop and think about it, I think they could do something cool with Unforgiven 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe do a medley of all three.
Why not? Yeah. I figure, on the 40th anniversary or some kind of special show, they're going to do some shit where they do all three in a row or something.
Yeah.
Because they've done all three live, so
but
why not?
They've never done them together.
Why not? They just need to fucking do it.
Right. So the one more thing I wanted to say is that there's several points in this. I didn't throw in that I really love the steel guitar aspect here.
Yes.
And we kind of skipped over Nothing Else Matters, but that solo was that steel guitar.
Yeah.
And it's just really cool because it's not anything you relate to a band like Metallica. And when you hear that along with James' voice, him playing acoustic, it just lends itself more to I really wish, the same way I wish Pepper Keenan would do some kind of solo album where it was just acoustic or just your outlaw style country. Because, he did that cover of Don't You Think This Outlaw Bit Has Done Got Out of Hand, which, he did it in a rock metal fashion, but he could do that kind of stuff, in a more chilled out fashion, and it would be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think, we're both big country music fans. So if you had pedal steel in anything, I'd be a fan of it.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Well, like we mentioned up front, we have a podcast. If you're not familiar with it, the link below will take you to all the podcasts. We've got 200 plus episodes. If you love Metallica, we haven't had them on, but we've had on a couple guys from Megadeth. We've had on guys from Seven Dust. Death Angel,
Overkill.
yeah, Corrosion Conformity, The Obsessed, Down, Superjoint, Crowbar, a huge long list. Like I said, 200 plus episodes.
Clutch, The Sword.
Prong,
Yeah.
yeah. Saxon,
Saxon.
that's
definitely.
another great band that I know Metallica is a fan of.
Of course.
We also have another video out where we reviewed their kickoff show of their 40th anniversary tour.
Yep.
So check that out as well. Hit subscribe on this channel to hear more stuff coming up. We've got several podcasts that focused on Metallica in that 200 plus. So go check those out as well. And see you next time.